Active Directory domain, what is Active Directory database, and the logical components. So we'll see the logical components. Okay, I started, guys. Okay, so then after this one, I will give you extra time break. Okay, so small topics only, just will go. What is Active Directory? So now the concept of Active Directory name is Active Directory Domain Services. Earlier days, we don't have Active Directory, means Windows NT time. Active Directory concept is not there. Not a Active Directory hierarchical structure is not there. Just it's like a name is domain only. That's a domain controller concept is there. But we don't have a Active Directory database. We don't have a Active Directory database. In that time, we have a SAM database is there. SAM accounts. Okay. SAM database, right? NTLM authentication system. So okay, so this is the very old part. So just Windows NT time. Okay, so we have a SAM database to store username, computer names, authentication purpose, like that. You use a SAM database. Database is SAM database, like a Active Directory database. Okay, NTLM network LAN manager. Okay, NTLM means new technology LAN manager. Okay, so maybe challenges and response. NTLM meant by NTLM. It is not given. Yeah, Windows NT LAN manager. NTLM means Windows NT. So it is used for authentication. One thing is, you should maintain your domain database, and next one is you should authenticate the users when they log into the network. So in Windows NT time, we use a SAM database and NTLM, but in the 2000 and 2003, we use concept called Active Directory instead of SAM. In 2003, we use the concept called Active Directory. In 2008, we start using the name called Active Directory Domain Services. Active Directory Domain Services. Okay, so now the name is Active Directory Domain Services. Why we got Active Directory Domain Services? Because of in Active Directory there is a multiple services came into market. One is Active Directory Domain Services, Certification Services, ADRMS means Right Management System, ALDS Lightweight Directory Services, ADCS Certification Service already here now. Certification Services, Domain Services, Right Management Services, Lightweight Directory Access Services. I said 4. So 4 or 5. Something missing. Federation Services. Yes, 5, totally 5. Federation Services. Active Directory, Federation Services. So totally 5 Active Directory services are there. So in our domain environment, forest environment, this is the first basic structure is Active Directory Domain Services. In 2008, it is introduced. Okay, so earlier it is different names, now it is different names, but concept is same, centralized authentication only. So Active Directory Domain Services, foundation of enterprise network that runs Windows operating system. So when you say Active Directory authentication kind of stuff, it is from the Windows operating system only it came. But centralized authentication, not always a Windows. Active Directory Windows concept, but centralized authentication is anywhere, like for authentication, Active Directory in Windows, like LDAP in Linux. Okay, different type of centralized authentications are there, right? The Active Directory database is a central store of all domain objects such as user accounts, computer accounts, groups. ADS provides a searchable hierarchical directory and provides a method for applying configuration and security settings for objects in the enterprise. Okay, next. This is not required. So just we have a different kind of stuff, right? So this is about your basic idea of a Active Directory. So what it is? It is belongs to Windows Server, Windows operating system. Okay. So we use the concept of Active Directory domain services or Active Directory concepts in a enterprise networks only, not in your home network. You have a 2-3 members are there. You don't require a centralized authentication for that one. Okay. So that's the thing. Next, Active Directory database is central store. Okay, central store of all domain objects such as user accounts, computer accounts, and groups. Okay. The next one is this one. Active Directory database stores information. Same thing is repeated, guys, because it is introduction. This is just the overview. Okay. Active Directory database stores information on user identity, computers, groups, services, and resources. That is the first very important point it is. So I'm putting a star here. It is a very important point. Don't forget this. The Active Directory IDDS domain control also hosts a service that authenticate users and computer accounts when they log on to the domain. This is a second important point. Don't forget this one. Otherwise, how to tell this is a very important point. The single star only. It's not a note, guys. This is a point. Okay. So Active Directory database store information on user identity, computer, group, service, and resources. Active Directory domain controller also hosts the services that authenticate users, computer, user and a computer. Okay, it is user and a computer accounts when they log on to the domain. Next, because of how it is can able to authenticate, because of Active Directory store information about all the objects in the domain. All users and computers must connect it to Active Directory domain controller when signing into the network. Active Directory is a primary mean by which you can configure and manage user and computer on your network. So this is just for understanding of these 2 points. This is very useful because Active Directory stores information about all of the objects in the domain. So like that we can able to authenticate it. And all user and computer must connect it to Active Directory domain control. Like I have 100 computers. If I add only 10, no use, right? So if I had all computers, so then all computers are in my domain. My users can able to log into any of the domain controller, sorry, any of the domain computer, any of the domain controller, domain computer. My users can able to log in. I know what are the systems are in my domain, so I can enforce the different type of policies to the my domain. I can authenticate users wherever they log in, right? So that is the meaning of this. Okay. So when sign into the network, so ADDS is primarily mean by which you can configure and manage user computer on your network. So you can manage user account, computer accounts in your domain controller. So you can able to manage. So that's how you configure ADDS. ADDS again, Active Directory database or ADDS database. Already we said. So what it stores user identity, computer, group, and service and resources stores. Name of the anybody remember Active Directory database name? ntds.dit. ntds.dit. I'm in a mute or on open, right? Okay. New technology.
Directory service.
Directory service. Very good. Dot directory.
Information tree.
Very good. Directory information tree. So this is database. Next, ADDS, authenticate users, right? So we use authentication protocols, right? What are the protocols we use it? So one is KRBROS, Kerberos Authentication Protocol. Another one is LDAP protocol. The port number is, you guys already know, 389. Okay, 88 and 389 is the two authentication protocol. Kerberos and LDAP protocols we use it. The Kerberos is the mainly our Active Directory authentication protocol used mainly in authentication. Okay, LDAP is a open protocol anyway. So multiple different places the LDAP will be used, but Kerberos is specifically very strong authentication protocol we use in Windows Active Directory domain places. Okay, of course, if you want to use Kerberos in Linux, also we can able to use it, but Linux is usually LDAP protocol. They use it for authentication, authorization kind of stuff. This is your active. There are a lot of different naming structure is there, like a KDC, key distribution center, okay, TGT, ticket granting ticket, SGT, sorry, like a ST, service ticket. There's a few other things also there. So if you want, you can put it KDC, distribution center, key distribution center, TGT, TICK, ticket granting ticket, okay, ST, service ticket. So you maybe think like sir is maybe worked as a conductor, or maybe he's traveling more time in like buses. That's why he's telling ticket. So like that. No, guys. Okay, yeah, of course. I traveled a lot in city buses. I know the value of ticket. Okay, so I always take a ticket. So I never say no, I don't take a ticket, that kind of stuff. But that's the good thing. Okay, look at here how it is authenticate. How it is authenticate. Active Directory process is also there. Okay, so how it will be authenticate kind of stuff is also there. So we'll go to that one after I tell something. Okay. Okay, so not now, so not immediately now, after completion of this part I will tell. Okay, so these are some names are there for authentication process. So we use this kind of names, okay, in an authentication process. SRV records. What are SRV records? Service location record. Okay, service location record. So we use these things in an authentication process. In authentication process, we use this kind of things. KDC is a one word, but these are the important three things are very important in authentication process. Okay, so but currently I'm not switching to that one. So I'm going to just what are the physical components and logical components will go. The physical components in an Active Directory domain environment is like this. These are the physical and logical components. Physical components are a data store, domain controller, and a global catalog server or ODCs like this. Logical components, example, partitions, not a disk partition, guys. Active Directory partitions are there. Schema, domain, domain trees, forest, sites, OUs, like this. These are all comes under logical partitions. So these are the physical components of a your domain controller. See, it is a physical components are like this. ADDS information stored in a single file on each domain controller hard disk. That following table lists some of the component where they are stored. Okay. Because of I copy from a big textbook, no, so that's why I type everything, okay, to not missing. Okay, so physical component description, it is domain controller. This is the physical components. It is domain controller contains a copy of Active Directory database. What is a domain controller? Domain controller is nothing but a your Windows server, right? It is nothing but a Windows server. It can be a 2016, 2019, Windows 2008, 2012 or 2019. Okay, it can be anything. It is a server. So why I'm not writing a physical server, guys? Again, if I write physical server, sir, we use a virtual machine, then it is a virtual server. No, it is not like that, sir. Server. Server means server only. Physical or a virtual means physical hardware or a virtual hardware. Okay, so that is the difference. Okay, server means server only. It is a physical server. Okay, physical server. So that's the difference is like server. That's it. Okay, it is a server. Domain controller is a server. So you know the server, right? It is not some boundary kind of stuff, not imagination. I am a person. Physically, I am a person, but logically, my name is Latif. That's it. So if I change my name, but my person won't be changed, right? My face won't be changed. My legs won't be changed. My legs become hands. That won't be happen, right? So that is physical and logical means like you have a table. The table is physical entity, right? So like a person is a physical entity. Name of the table, you put some name for the table, like a table name is something like a kerchief. A table name is like a water bottle. Okay, like people having dogs and cats, they put a different funny name to the dogs and cats, right? So like, so that's a name only, but it is a dog, it's a physical entity. Okay, so point is it's a domain controller and it is a Windows server. Anywhere it is a virtual machine or physical machine, it's a Windows server. So it is a physical entity, physical point, and which contains Active Directory database store. So data store means hard disk, where you store the thing. Another component is data store. The file on each domain controller that stores Active Directory information. Okay. So what is the data store? It is ntds.dit. ntds.dit. Next one is global catalog server. Global catalog servers. What is this global catalog server? Which it is a partial and read only copy of all objects in the forest. A global catalog speeds up search for objects that might be stored in domain controllers in the different domains in the forest. Guys, again, what is a global catalog server? It is nothing but a domain controller. What is a domain controller? It is nothing but a your Windows server only. Okay, it means it is also a server. But global catalog means the all domains, partial information, all domains. We have a lot of domain controllers are there, no? We have a lot of domain controllers and the domains are there. Domains and domain controllers are there, right? So the different domains in the forest, their database, partial information stores in the global catalog server. Okay, in the data store only, in a global, if I have a global catalog server in the data store, not only a my domains database, also other domain database also it is contained. Advantage is faster, speed up the search of objects. Like whenever I am communicating one domain to another domain, so obviously we can easily communicate. Okay. Next one is read-only domain controller, additional domain controllers, and read-only domain controller. Three things are there always: domain controller, additional domain controllers, RODCs. Okay. In 2008, these three things are introduced: domain controller, additional domain controller, and RODCs. So what is the advantage of this RODC? Domain controller and additional domain controller are same. Means both maintain same database, both can able to authenticate, both can able to change a username, passwords, kind of stuff. Okay. Domain controller, additional domain controllers, both are having same database, same username, same passwords for each and everything. RODC is also having a same copy of domain controller or a additional domain controller. Same database. Three maintaining same database. But thing is, RODCs for security reasons. For example, I have a branch office in my Pune office. I have multiple employees and computers are there. I want to implement a domain controller. I want to put a domain controller. If I put a domain controller or additional domain controller, so it is a writable one. It is a writable, means someone will change anything. But what I'm doing is I have only 25 members are there, maybe 30 members, 50 members in my branch office. I want a password for 50 members is enough, right? So again, I'm telling, in domain controller, you have a multiple username, total organization usernames are there. For example, you have a domain and your organization, so in a different locations, different branches, lot of multiple people are there. For example, I have a 5,000 total users and their passwords stores in domain controller and additional domain controller. Now I have a branch office. Look at here. This is my domain controller, additional domain controller. Okay, so this is a DC, ADC. ADC for a backup purpose, guys. DC also called as PDC, primary domain controller, and ADC also called as a backup domain controller. Okay, earlier names are PDC, BDC. Now we should DC, ADC. So, for example, I have a 2,000 users and 4,000 1,000 computers information. 2,000 users and their passwords in my domain controller. Same data in the things, 2,000 users and their passwords, 1,000 computers. That information also is there. Groups, information, everything will be same database. Both will maintain. Both will can authenticate all users all users, 2000 users, this can able to authenticate, this can able to authenticate. So DC ADC is for a domain controller and additional domain controller. So advantage of using additional domain controller, guys, compulsory ADC has to be used. Additional domain controller. Additional DC is enough, right? Additional domain controller. Okay. Also, it is, we can call it as a BDC. BDC means backup DC. So advantage of using this kind of stuff is failover and load balancer. What is a failover and load balancer? Okay, think it is a server. Server can fail anytime, guys. Electronic device, right? So it can be fail in some time, right? If my domain controller is down, no problem. We have an additional domain controller, so then users authentication is not stopping. Okay, domain controller is failed. Something is happened to domain controller, no problem. Additional domain controller is there. Okay, so that is called a failover. So DC fails, no problem, ADC is there. Second, load balancing. What is a load balancer or load balancing kind of stuff? I have a lot of users, 2000 users, 5000 users, or 10,000 users, 1 lakh users. Think like that. At a time, multiple users are logging. For example, we should log in at 9:20 to 9:30 in between. My attendance is 9:20 to 9:30. In between this, I will log in. Almost all 9:28, 9:29, 9:30 or 9:25, 9:26, 9:27, 9:28, 9:29, 9:30. Right? Last 5 minutes, 9:30, before 9:30, I have to log in. The last 2 minutes, last 3 minutes, or last 5 minutes, lot of load on server, right? Load increases because lot of people are logging in the same time. For example, 1000 people are logging at a time. So more load increases on a domain controller. So more load increases on a domain controller. So this load will be shared to additional domain controller. So load sharing between DC and ADC. So then what happened? Authentication will be smoother, less burden on individual pieces, and meanwhile it is something disconnections won't happens, right? So you put a username and password, it's showing like a rotating 931 reach, and it is saying unable to authenticate, try again. Okay, you tried at 9:20, everybody's tried at 9:20, but it is very slow because lot of load on your single server. So what happened? It is rotating, like you may be seen that is YouTube rotating, rotating. Finally, it's showing an error at 9:31. Sorry, unable to authenticate. Try again now. Then you tried, and in your company is saying it is you are already late. Okay, you are there in 9:20, but you are already late. I will show you that example if you want to see that. Sometimes it happens in a thing. So that's why we are moving to the clouds. Even the cloud, even in the cloud also, we have to be careful with that. See, it is. I'm late. I never be late from last 2 months, but I'm late this day. That too like this. Okay. So 43 minutes late. Why? Because of the server is updating, application is updating. Originally, they should not do that one. In a background update is happen, they should use the separate window. So we have to update first this one, and then we have to update this one. The service must be available. Okay. So the background update, the entire application or entire server should not be updated. So we have to take 2-3 servers, update one server, and one server will give you information, but the one server will updates. Okay, once update completed, So updated server will give you a service. The next server will update. So like at a time, all servers should not be updated. Okay, or don't use a single server, because we need two things, guys. Remember always failover and load balancer. That is the mantra of infrastructure management. What is the mantra of infrastructure management? I said mantra. Okay, so it is a failover. Okay, if you are an infrastructure manager, always first you got a server, you immediately have to think failover. So compulsory configure 2 or more servers for a failover purpose. Next one is load balancer. Next one is load balancer. So what is the load balancer? Balance the load on 2 or more servers or 2 or more devices. Otherwise, what happen? More burden on single server, server will be failure, and entire column you will get, entire thing will get problem. So that is failover and load balancer. So that is the main. If you don't maintain like this, within a very less time only your infrastructure completely damaged. So guarantee, that is the guarantee. Why we are using Gmail? Why you are using a cloud computing kind of stuff? Because of they will maintain infrastructure, failover, load balancers. They will maintain. We don't need to maintain the data centers, multiple data centers kind of stuff. We don't need to maintain. So simply we'll take a service and we use a service from the cloud. Okay. So less burden on a management organizations. Okay. So this is the main important of the load balancer and failover. Okay. So that is PDC, BDC. Then what is this? RODC. RODC. So that's the point, right? So my point is RODC. Okay. So what is RODC? Read-only domain controller. RODC is a read-only domain controller. Why it is called as the read-only means the domain controller, additional domain controller and the domain controllers both are writable, means you can change the password, you can change the user, you can add a user, you can delete the user, modify the groups, modify the computer kind of stuff. Everything read and write part we will get it, but in a read only domain controller we only get a read part only. It is the database, you cannot change it, you cannot change it. That is one read only domain controller. This is read and write domain controller. Read and write, you can able to change it. Read only domain controller. Not only that one, guys, it is suitable for branch offices, mainly security in the branch offices. Branch offices. For example, why it is a branch office, main office? It is not like that. Main office, branch office, both places we can able to use it. For example, I have a 2000 users are there in my branch. I have a in my branch I have a only 50 users are there. In my branch I have a 50 users are there. Okay. So as per this, I will get a 2000 users list. Okay. As per this, RODC also DC. It is a domain controller. Whatever the data in the domain controller, same data stores in RODC. Remember, guys, DC, ADC, what are the data base like users, groups, computers, information is there. Same data will be stores here also. Same data stores in RODC. Then what is the point here? The point is out of 2000 users, I will get a 50 users passwords only. I'll get a 50 users passwords only. So I will get a 2000 users, but 2000 users I will get it, but I will get a password for my branch office users passwords only. So what is the advantage? What is the advantage? It means you don't know, anyway, you don't change the username and passwords of a database because read-only copy. First one is read-only copy. Second one is you don't require all users passwords. Okay, no other branch people cannot log into your branch. Okay, it is fully controlled, secured. Only particular user base, that user base username passwords are there, so then you will get authenticated. Okay, so that is the main point of RODC. DC, PDC, RODC. These there is often used in branch office, whereas security and IT support often less advanced than a main corporate centers. Because if you got all the username and passwords, there someone will log in with some admin credentials, they will change the data also. That's the another problem we will get it, right? So we don't get all the username and passwords there. Only we will get a username and password based on the user base of the branch office. Usually branch office means we don't give more security like very high security, hi-fi security, network wise, network security, physical security like that, we don't use it. So that is the main part of physical components. One more is there, that is the logical components. Okay, so these are the logical components. Okay, so what is the meaning of logical components? Active Directory, a logical components are structure that has been implemented in an Active Directory design that a for organization. The following table descriptions are very good. Component descriptions. Require this much. First one is partition. So what is Active Directory partition? The selection of Active Directory database, although the database is in one file named ntds.dit, it is viewed and managed and replicated as if it is consist of distinct selection of instance. These are called partitions, which are referred as a naming context. Why it is giving very big one context. Okay, so next one is a schema. Schema defines the list of objects and attributes that all objects in the ADDS have, like that. Okay, so domain is a logical administrative boundary of users and computers. Domain trees, a collection of domains that share the common root domain and domain name system. Forest, a collection of domain that share the common ADDS, something it is given. Site, a collection of users, groups, computers defined by their physical location. And sites are useful in a planning administrative tasks such as the replication of changes to the ADDS database. Next one is OU. OUs are containers, ADDS that provide a framework for a delegation administration. And link the group policy thing, administrative rights, and link the group policy objects. So already we explained earlier. So, but I want to tell partition. So our database, Active Directory database, when you see ADDS database or Active Directory database is ntds.dit is the database, is divided into 4 partitions. 3 important, fourth one is optional. Partitions are schema partition, configuration partition, configuration partition, domain partition, and application partition. As per the test work, application partition is optional. Okay. Schema partition, configuration partition, domain partition, and application partition. So these are about your partitions. So schema partition store schema configuration related one, configuration partition actually stores. Okay. Configuration partitions enter your forest configuration, means what are the services like a mail services, certification services, right management services, like forest level services. Okay, any services there. So total services will information stores in configuration partitions only. Schema also forest level. Schema and configuration partition is common for all domains in forest. Okay, for all domains and domain controllers. Domain means there is a domain control, right? So all domain controllers having same config, same data. Okay, so schema and configuration partition common are a same data for all domains in the forest or domain controllers in the forest. Domain partition different from one domain to other. One domain to other. So irrespective of what forest you are there. So one domain information is different, another domain information is different, right? So domain partition stores the domain database. Originally, that domain database stores that domain database only. Okay, schema in one domain controller in a root what schema is there, same schema maintained by other domains in the same forest. Same what are the data in the configuration partition, same data is there in a others. So schema and configuration partitions replicated to all domain controllers. Okay, all domain controllers. So they can maintain same data, same database. Okay, same database or same data. Okay, same data. Domain partition don't replicate. Only replicates to global catalog servers. only replicated to global catalog servers because of global catalog servers contains all domains information. Okay, so that is about your partition, guys. Okay, a lot of things will be there, so I'm not going that much depth. So next one is the domain. So the domain is a logical administrative boundary of users and computers. Logical administrative boundary of users and computers. This is the Active Directory domain definition. I'm copying it. Yeah, it's okay. What I will do, no problem, not required copying, guys. This is the abbreviation. Whenever anybody asks a question, what is a domain or Active Directory domain? So compulsory tell this answer. So guys, don't tell the answer like a google.com is a domain, Gmail is a domain. So don't say like that. That is nonsense. Okay. So that is URLs. URL is different and domain is different. Domain names, URLs. That's a completely different. I'm talking about domain means Active Directory domain. Domain means Active Directory domain. So whenever you are telling like you got a confusion, then you can tell like this. You ask a question, what is a domain? Abbreviation, right? So Active Directory domain is a logical administrative boundary of users and computers. Active Directory domain database stores users, groups, computers, and services and resource information. Active Directory domain services also authenticate users when they log into network. So this is the 4 statements you have to tell compulsory, guys. If you want, I will write separately. So I will tell that one again. So now we'll see. Go to the components, schema, domain trees, forest, site, and OU. Okay, I've only told about a partitions thing here. That's it. Okay, I will try to explain again what is forest and site and all kind of stuff once again. Last point I told, right? So what it is, when you're saying what is a domain, the question is, if an interviewer or maybe any of us are asking a question, so what is a domain? The answer is, domain is a logical administrative boundary of users and computers. ADDS, it means Active Directory Domain Service. Active Directory Domain Service Database or Active Directory Database. So I will copy from here only. So why we are typing this tough time. So Active Directory Database stores information of user identity, computers, groups, and services. The second point is that one. So third point is we should complete this. Also authenticate users and computers when they log into domain. Network. Log into domain or log into network. So these 2 points. So point number 1, point number 2, point number 3. These 3 points you should tell. Okay, these 3 points you should tell. First you should tell this point. So when it is okay with that one, so no need to tell anything, but just you tell one answer, they said okay, correct, and you go to the next question. So then okay, no problem, but he's waiting. For example, he's waiting. You don't need to wait. You don't need to wait. Continuously tell this one. Guys, look at here. What is domain? The question is, what is a domain? Okay, the question is, what is domain? A logical administrative boundary of users and computers. Logical administrative boundary of users and computers. You said like that, and the interviewer said, yeah, yes, correct. And he asking another question. Tell me about a tree. Then you have to tell answer for the tree only. Tell answer for the tree only. For example, he asking a question like what is domain. So what is domain? And you said an answer like a logical administrative boundary of users and computers is waiting. Is waiting. Just he didn't said okay, correct, and he's not asking any question. Just wait 1 or 2 seconds maximum. Okay, not required to wait 10-15 seconds. Also, just wait 2 seconds. That's it. Okay, a logical administrative boundary of users and computers. The Active Directory database stores information on user identity, computer, group, and service and resources. If you are not able to tell lot of things, like no problem. Active Directory database stores user information, computer information, group information. Very simple. And Active Directory database, sorry, Active Directory also authenticate users and computers when they log into domain, or it authenticate users when they log in. Okay, so when user is login, Active Directory authenticate the users. At least that points. Okay, so like that, in any ways, you have to convey the point with meaningful meaning. So don't tell some kind of stories or Google stories kind of stuff. Okay, so a lot of information is there. Which one is correct? We know, so that's why I'm sharing that one. Okay, these 3 points compulsory, guys. Understand and by heart also. So whatever it is you do it. Okay, so this is compulsory. You should tell. Okay, I also am telling the way of answering. The way of answering in the interview is very important. Okay, so if you are not saying in a proper way, and it is not good for not look good. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Understand, guys? The last point what I said.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay, so now take a break because it's took a lot of time. So again, study once again what I told. Look at that one.